very happy to listen to this morning music every day. It's wonderful. Welcome to our fourth and final Prime Assembly. It's so exciting to see you all here in person in Rome. And we think we have a wonderful program which we are going to share with you. Before we really get into the meat of this, I know that there are some new participants who are here for the first time. So I would just like to share once again the overall goals of this project. And what we're looking to do today, and a little bit about the journey that we have come on. So I apologize for those of you who know this by heart, but it's just making sure that we're all on the same page and in this journey together. So by way of reminder, the project's main theme is to develop policy recommendations for higher music education institutions across Europe by asking the question, how can we improve the higher music education environment by suggesting ways to deal with power relations within our institutions? What standards are realistic to set to achieve a safer and more supportive environment? And more specifically, during this assembly, we are going to address the issue of how can conservatoires balance the need to aspire to high artistic standards with overcoming power imbalances. And what might be a blueprint or a model for the conservatoire of the future. So just by way of a reminder of what this process entails, we have been inspired by a form of deliberative democracy that has been practiced in a number of countries, notably in Ireland, to deal with very controversial issues. How does it do this? In bringing together a group of citizens to listen to experts and gain information, discuss and deliberate. Deliberate means discuss and go back and forth, and then finally make recommendations. So our project takes this as our point of departure, and you are the citizens. You are the citizens of your institutions. You are the students, you are the teachers, and you are the staff. And what we have done is we have chosen to look at 4 aspects of this question of power relations, so that in each assembly we bring in experts, you receive information through the information brief, and you discuss and you also share your own experiences. We've heard many stories. You share your experiences in your own language, but also in mixed groups or in groups with students or in groups with teachers. And so this is the process where we respect and we listen to each other. And through this process of gaining information, we also gain a toolbox, of shared vocabulary and shared information. So we're not just saying, oh, I think this, I think that. We listen to what we've heard, and then we reflect among each other to come to policy recommendations. So at the conclusion of each assembly, we come up with new recommendations, and subsequently we vote on these recommendations. So this is a process that we have gone through several times, and at the end of this final assembly, we will come back to all of these recommendations to make sure that you feel, yes, these are recommendations I can live with. And we'll see if we have issues with that, whether we need to reformulate any of these recommendations. So the 3 previous assemblies looked at the question of understanding power and hierarchies of power, understanding power relations, types of power. We had a very powerful video by Robert Chambers on how we can look at power over, power with, power to, power within, and power to empower. And we've looked at this, and we've looked at how power plays out in the conservatoire setting through the expert paper given by Anna Moll. The recommendations that came out of this first assembly, I will share these because they keep coming back. These are themes that keep returning, and you may feel that at the end of this assembly, these are again themes you want to return to in your formulation of recommendations. That we are looking to develop networks of care and safe and teaching and learning environments. That we look to identify support systems, transparent and relevant policies, awareness through training. So these are some of the things that we're looking to do, and what we see that through these assemblies, you have learned or gained agency. In other words, you yourself have become empowered to speak about this and to observe what takes place in your own institution and maybe affect change. During our second assembly, we looked at questions of sexism and gender, both visible and invisible practices. And finally, in the third assembly, diversity and inclusion. So this was the question of what happens with people who have different socioeconomic backgrounds and may be discriminated against because of these, the effect of racism, the effect of people being physically challenged or being neurodivergent, and that we may have implicit biases that we may not even recognize. And we saw that in the last assembly where there was a case of something that happened that shouldn't have happened, but we didn't realize that it was going to be a problem. So this process is one where we invite you to become agents of change. And no one person here is more important than any other person. You all have a voice, and you all have something very important to share. And what we have seen in this process is that we also have stereotypes that we may think, oh, if you're from some part of Europe, another part of Europe, well, maybe it's great where you are, but it's terrible where I am or where they are, I don't know. But we discover that these issues are universal issues. Perhaps they translate slightly differently, but they are all there. And this process is designed to make us all aware and to listen to each other. And I think the other really unique aspect of this assembly process is that it's not so frequent for students and teachers and staff to speak up about issues which are sometimes very intimate issues and which touch us very profoundly. So this is a safe space where you are invited to share, and knowing that you will be heard and that you will be respected. And we hope that in so doing, we can, in turn, encourage other institutions to engage in these processes, and within our own institutions, to take this to heart and to understand that it is not something that is settled just by putting something on a piece of paper. That it's an ongoing dialogue and discussion and collaboration, and that it's a never-ending one. But that's what keeps us alive. So that's just to put you in the framework of where we are and where we stand today. And I want to make sure that I'm not forgetting something. We are going to dive right in with our subject, which is artistic standards. This is a huge topic. And to give you a little context, I'm going to invite Constanza from the Assembly Working Group, and I'd like to introduce you to Esther, who's the chair of the Assembly Working Group. This is the star. The star is the Assembly Working Group, because without the Assembly Working Group, we wouldn't have a program, and we wouldn't have these wonderful people to facilitate. So I'm just going to introduce the members of the group. Could you each stand? Constanza from Graz, Jesus from San Sebastian, from Mainz, Anna from Zagreb, and Carolina from Krakow. So this is our group. Who is chairing it. So without further ado, Constanza, can you give us some context for this?
You have to press it on. Is it on? Can you hear me? Wonderful. So, good morning. And I don't think I have to tell you anything about artistic standards because all of you know what it's about, artistic standards. But I really want to introduce some topics that are really special on this theme. Because, as you all know, when you are on stage and you are not good, or you are not good enough, or you are not excellent, nobody will help you. Nothing will help you. So it's a very cruel way of leading your professional life because the standards are very clear and they are very clear to everybody here in the room. And they are clear from childhood on. So many of you who went to music schools, you already learn very early that if you're playing at the end of the concert, you are one of the good ones. If you're playing in the beginning, okay, you have a long way to go. And this is very deep down in your personality, and it's very hard to see, okay, this is my artistic personality, and this am I, that's me without my artistic personality. That's what makes it so difficult to speak about it, to talk about situations, about topics related to power relations. But we think we can do this, and we think there is a lot to be said about situations where we come together in a higher music education institution and we are talking or not talking about artistic standards. For instance, the final exam or an entrance exam. What happens between the members of a commission in words, without words, concerning a candidate? What happens between a teacher and a student in a learning situation? Is there something we can change related to power relations and not losing our path of what we want to achieve in artistic standards? Or is there perhaps something we can talk about or think about on the genres, on the pieces, on the music pieces we are playing, or which keep our standards, or which are the gatekeepers for going the next step? Could we perhaps change them, or have more of them, or more diverse couple of pieces? So I think we have a lot to talk about. And it's really difficult, because then we always come back to this, and when you're on stage and you're not good enough and you're not even excellent, look for another profession, because you won't get it, you won't have a wonderful life as a musician, as a singer, as an artist. So we don't have to kill our thoughts, but we have to merge them with all that we've learned in the workshops before and find ways now to get all this into the deeply rooted artistic standards in higher music education. So that's my intro. And I get back. Journey perhaps is one of the key words for the morning.
Yes. So we are going to go on a quest, on a journey to find on a quest or a journey for standards, and we're going to do it by walking in Rome. So this is what your morning task is going to be. We are going to go in groups of 3, and in just a moment I will count 1, 2, 3, and if you're in group 1, so I'm going to count from 1 to 10. And so, but anyway, here is the exercise. Don't get what I'm going to get all my numbers here. So the exercise is that we are going to share 3 questions, and you are each going to have a sheet so that you know what these questions are. Just asking ourselves what are artistic standards. We had an introduction to context here with Constanza. might we come up with some different perspectives? What might they be? And what power imbalances occur? That could be in concerts, in examination commissions, in auditions, etc. So those are the three big questions. And we are going to ask you to do this for about half an hour. So you need to come back within half an hour. Don't decide to walk all the way across Rome before you decide to come back. And we're going to ask you to explain what you have observed. Most important, first thing we want you to do is take a selfie with your group, which we'll then share your selfies. And identify these different perspectives. And when we come back, we are going to ask you to share 3 striking words that have come up in your discussion. And we're going to put this into the computer, into the machine, and come up with a kind of cloud of words. Thanks to Jesus and the Mentor. And we will comment and share what we have observed in our discussions about different perspectives and power imbalances. So that's an order, 10:15. 9:38, so we actually have 37 minutes. So you can walk to the Colosseum, or you can walk wherever you want. That's not so far. But right now, I'm going to leave my counter. So please, maybe each number go and stand somewhere so we can find each other. Normally, you should be
So you get the first one gets papers, and then you are in charge of who's the one.
The word balance seems to be winning number 1 position. The prime word, balance. So I'm going to invite each of you to say, from each group, to say a few words about different perspectives and how power imbalances occur. So can I call on group 1? Who would like to speak for group 1? Make that determination. Yeah. Yes? Can you stand up?
Yes, okay. So we have we were supposed to have 3 keywords, right?
Yeah.
Oh, hello. Now we're working better. So we have 3 keywords, which are expectations, models, and quality.
And model and quality.
Quality. Yeah. So that's it. So I should pass the microphone.
No, wait a minute. Can I ask you did you identify other perspectives, or did you talk about where you see power imbalance occurring?
Actually, it's a very complex topic, right? So it depends where you start to talk on which perspective. But I think we're talking a lot about the perspective of the student, the teacher, perspective of the jury member and competitor in the competition. The standards of the how do you compare yourself to other musicians, right? It is better. Actually, we discussed that probably is good that we are comparing because it helps us to make a progress, to be on the higher level. Probably we were talking a lot like in between, not 100% related to the topic, but we were very nice inspired by your cards. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, group 2. Who's group 2? And we'll share the mic. Who's going to speak for group 2?
Hi. So we talked a lot about identifying different perspectives.
we've agreed that there should be a different way of evaluating and treating students in music primary schools and music high schools and at the academies and conservatories, especially bachelor and master level, because finishing master level kind of underlines that you're a master of your, a master of your trade. So yes, there's a lot to be talked about there. There definitely can be power imbalances based on gender and race and the way you look. So we should definitely try to minimize that, but there's a cultural aspect to that, and it's a much larger topic that should be discussed and that calls for more.
And can I ask what were your 3 words? Just we can look at them out and see what
Patience, perseverance, and resilience.
And what?
Resilience.
Resilience.
Yes.
Patience, perseverance, and resilience. Great. Number 3. Who's going to speak for number 3?
So first of all, we walk in the sun, we have no 3 words to forget. But we have a nice talk about the entrance examination because we were talking about...
Can you speak to the mic?
I speak to the
Yeah, just even
okay. Just about, for example, as you do in San Sebastian and you know in Mannheim, that we have, that we, for example, give students no chance to go especially to one professor before the entrance examination because we want to have the same right for everybody. This is what we do, and in your university it's not like this, so we find this is a good solution. Then we can talk about that you have that all the students got the same chance to do an examination when they want to come in. This is one thing. If some teacher knows the person who is in this entrance examination, in our school he is not allowed to vote. In our school, I think this is cool because if you know him, then maybe you say something special because we want also to have the same rights for everybody. What does we talk? We talk about when we finish with school, what's going on then. Do you want to say something about that? No.
Could you talk about power imbalances, what you saw?
Not really. We talk a lot about the entrance examination that we want to have the same rights for everybody.
Great.
And yeah, we talk about blind auditions. And that some blind auditions are not blind auditions, that a lot of people knows before. So this is the same problem. You know, we want the same right for everybody, and that nobody knows the person who's in a blind audition, but they know who's there. This is the point. So we were talking about the entrance examination the whole time. I'm sorry for that.
It's a big topic, it's a very important topic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the same rights maybe we can write down.
Okay. 4.
Yes, I think we have the same topics in the other reason, like that we really feel our artistic standards are hard to define, and the question is who defines them actually. And so we said it's sort of a matter of opinion, like what is the standard, who defines the standard, what is right, what is wrong, is there a right, is there a wrong. So we said it's a matter of opinion. We also said it depends on the genre, like we wrote down perfection versus performance. Maybe some musician is playing the right tone and scales, but the performance is worse. Or maybe if somebody's not playing perfect, 100% perfect, the person is also a good musician, if the performance is good, then the person deals with the problems. So again, like performance versus perfection. And the power imbalance is like something we had in the other sessions as well, is the hierarchy. Maybe there's a jury giving the points, the grades, and maybe there's one person in the jury which has a very strong opinion, and the other people in the jury, they take over this opinion because they're afraid to argue about it. Again, hierarchy. So matter of opinion, performance versus perfection and hierarchy, these are 3 keywords we try to figure out. Agree?
So, can I have group 5?
So what are the standards? We said that overall, no mistakes are allowed in artistic standards. So there's this big thing that you can't fail in a concert, in a and design. And we also figured out that it is quite different from the study. So in the slide that there's a little bit different to it's maybe or in my study in computer music where you're kind of forced to make mistakes, but overall you can say that mistakes are bad in music and you can't make mistakes on stage.
And did you talk about power and balance, or did you?
In the other points we talked about power imbalance. So should I go on with?
Yeah, please.
Okay, identify different perspectives. So the students are always very dependent on the teachers and the teachers who say what are the artistic standards. And to the point 3, what power imbalance and occur. So we said maybe gender and elitism are the 2 words which are most powerful at that point. How the power imbalance is occur.
Great, thank you. Thank you for being so precise. 6.
We talked about that there is no definition of artistic standards because it's a matter of opinion, and basically went straight into the perspectives on artistic standards because an audience might not realize the mistakes that we've made, but your teacher will show you out afterwards later on. And also immediately kind of shared experiences that we've had, which led to power imbalances, like a teacher not allowing you to audition because you had one that day and things like that. But it was a really interesting talk overall. We also discussed like the balance between artistic standard and technical standard and knowledge and how all of that connects. Really words were balance, opinion, and unidentifiable. Because you can't really say there's one artistic standard because it depends on the view.
Great. Number 7.
Yes, when we talked about the artistic standards, we found that each school and each teacher has a slightly different understanding of what the standard is and where to mark its course. And also, one of our group had an experience where they were in practice improvising a little bit more, and they were made aware, well, within the exam, you're not going to be able to do this because it's not correct in this style. But we think this freedom needs to be experienced to even see where the standard is per se. So you need to take some time to examine what is your own style and what is the style you're given. And I think the biggest counterbalance is especially shown within the teacher-student relationship, because it's the most intimate and most direct relationship in the higher music education. And I think it's very hard to differentiate for teachers whether it's something they learn as a standard or it's something that they would want standardized.
Great. 7.
Anya, Joanna, does anyone of you want to, or do you want me to summarize? I'm not sure where. Okay, yeah, I'm going to summarize real quick. So we talk a lot about the different perspectives concerning artistic standards from the artists themselves, the conductors maybe, the educators, the audience, and also the critics. And that's where we talk about the power imbalance between the critics and the artists, the orchestra, whatever. Because there can be like one bad day in your career, and that's the exact date where the critic, where a powerful critic is in the audience and can possibly, end your career, worst case scenario. But that's like the exaggerated way to talk talk about the power imbalances, which also connects to the idea of subjectivity in this concept. And we also talked about auditions and consultation lessons before auditions with the professors, and how the power imbalance can be very effective in one way or the other concerning the artistic standards that the students or the potential students have to adhere to.
Great. So, that was, you were number 8, so now 9. Here's,
we got there. So yeah, we talked about the artistic standards as well. I suppose went on to the perspectives really quickly too, and talked about the technical and musical excellence. And that again, as everyone has said, that the whole topic is so complex. And we said this technical and musical excellence led to a pressure to perform in order to attain a polished end result or a performance. And when we talk about power imbalances, we talk about expectations, bias, and gender and race. So in exams and in auditions, there can be especially a bias towards particular students, or if on a panel there's somebody who doesn't like a particular teacher's students, they can have a direct bias then, and then there's the obvious thing of gender and race as well that can go into it.
great. And last but not least, number 10. Where are you? Here.
I think that maybe everyone just talked about whatever we discussed, but I think we centered our discussion as some of us have been students and now teachers, some of us are both again. I don't know, probably the only different thing is the fact of instilling confidence in the students and how to not destroy but inspire the student, and finding a better way to coach and I don't know, just probably focusing on the interaction with the student and not the even in this case the abuse of power of knowledge, and letting knowledge to be viable and accessible in a way that it's not patronizing, just from the top. I just see from the top and you're down there, and I try to lift you up as much as possible and offer you all the opportunities. So you decide. You have the power to do whatever you want to do and make your own choices as a student, and also to make the wrong choices sometimes. But I just have to give you every choice that I can give you, all the paths that I can give you are in front of you, and I have to be just a guide. I think the 3 words were confidence, interaction, and perspective. I think. So, that's that.
Terrific. This is really, it just shows you how this group, which has been working together for a year and a half, would come up with so many different words and so many different perspectives, not only because of where you sit in your institutions, but geographically. And it's a way of seeing just how complicated this is to talk about. And I think this opens many, many doors.